Digital and Facebook live stream here. We've updated the latest tropical update on abc13.com. You can find that as well. That should be linked in here. It will be momentarily. Those of you joining, again, a lot of talk and discussion about the Gulf of Mexico, and I just want to be frank with you right now. Being pretty blunt, there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people are wondering, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? I have some short-term good news, and I also have a little bit of bad news. So bad news out of the way first, and again, we're going to let everybody join in and get started here. The latest update did just come in from the National Hurricane Center, and in conferring with them and looking at a couple of other data points here, we've reached a couple of conclusions as far as what we can tell you right now. First of all, this thing is likely going to form soon. At least a tropical depression is possible. 70% now is the chance through 48 hours. There's an 80% chance through 5 days. No center of circulation yet. The short-term good news is that a lot of the model data has been pushing it further to the east. You may have seen a lot of things floating around on social media or hear about all kinds of different things. Again, the latest data this morning is true that things are shifting a little more to the east. Now, can that change? Sure. What we have to wait on is for a defined center of circulation to develop, and that's what we're waiting on right here in the northeastern Gulf. Again, these showers and thunderstorms have started to get their act together a little bit better today. These are north and west of Tampa, in fact, causing thunderstorms along the western coast of Florida right now. So what we're doing is really actually seeing a lot of this stuff getting going. But again, right now, some better news. Again, we want to be prepared, but we also want to hope for the best. A lot of the model data is kind of pushing this a little further east. We'll have to wait and see until something forms, a center of circulation. But at least some short-term good news that I'm hopeful continues to be the trend. So let me read you the latest update. Basically, they're waiting on this area to develop right here. Hurricane hunters are going to go out tomorrow. They're going to investigate this area. An Air Force Reserve reconnaissance aircraft is going to go out and take a look at it. They do think a tropical depression is likely. Good news, I can tell you, right now, given everything I'm seeing, I think a hurricane is very far out of the question. Maybe end up getting a weak Category 1. Can I rule it out? No, but it's very unlikely at this point. I think the end up strength of this is going to end up being a tropical depression to a tropical storm. That's probably where this is going to land. If it does become a tropical storm, it then becomes, it's named Barry. If not, it remains a tropical depression. Right now, it's not even a tropical depression. They've given a 70% chance of developing within 48 hours. So we're going to watch this closely over the next 2 days. Again, you can kind of see a little spin trying to get going right here, right on the northeastern Gulf and on the western Florida coast, south of Panama City and south of Alabama. But right now, nothing too well defined. Let's zoom in on 3D. You can see the cloud top spiking. These are pretty good thunderstorms, and there's a little bit, it almost looks like maybe a little bit of a spin in here as well. Again, these systems don't follow the lines and tracks that we draw. So although it is, starting to get going just a little bit off to the east right now, let's take a look at the model data coming in. And again, this is the latest. This is just one run of the European model. It does a really good job, but the European and American models are now trying to shift this to the east. So if there's any short-term good news, I don't want to jinx this. I just want to show you what we know right now. Again, is it possible that we could still see impacts here in Texas? It's still possible. Something else that they mentioned, possible storm surge or wind impacts from this. If it does even still affect Louisiana, we can still see that along the upper Texas coast. So we'd have to watch that, and we're going to keep a close eye on it. But take a look closely at this model. This is the latest run of the European model. We're going to anxiously wait to see what the evening run comes in and shows today. But this does have a defined tropical cyclone, again, approaching Louisiana. And this is as we near Friday morning. And then it looks like possibly a landfall based on the latest European model right over parts of southern Louisiana, perhaps closer to New Orleans, perhaps a little bit west of there, sometime on Saturday, perhaps Saturday late through Sunday morning. If that trend holds, we may not see as many impacts here in southeast Texas. We may not. And certainly we're going to hope that the direction of the trend continues to push it to the east. That would be good news. But as of right now, that's what the European model is showing. The American model is kind of trending towards that as well. So again, I'm going to get to some of your questions as well. This is, again, this is a little bit of better news. You're welcome. Paula said, thanks, Future Track. Yes. I don't know if you're thanking me or thanking Future Track, but I'm fine with either one. Thank you to Future Track for showing us that, right? The European model. That's good news. I also want to show you the latest European model projection in terms of rainfall. This is also short-term good news. Okay, I don't want to get our hopes too up yet, but take a look at this. Heavy rains again possible along the Gulf Coast. It's all going to depend on the track. And again, until we get a center of circulation, we're not going to know for sure. But right now, it does look like that's shifting a little bit to the east of us. If you're in and along the Texas Gulf Coast, the news is, right now, some short-term better news, some cautious optimism here possible, but I don't want us to take our eyes off this just yet because it's a very thin line there, as you can see, between what could just be normal rainfall, 1 to 2 inches, maybe not even that in spots, to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches. Now, right now, the latest trend is showing the heavier intensities approaching southern Louisiana. So I'd be remiss to not show you this and to not show you the newest data shifting this to the east. This is good news. I do also want to make sure and mention that, again, this is just right now the trend. There's still plenty of uncertainty. Once you get a defined center of circulation, you have a much better idea. Here's the low-level spin model. This is, we take a measure of the low-level spin in the atmosphere. Watch what this does. Again, this kind of brings in that area of circulation to the north central Gulf. And at this point, we're going to have to watch it closely because once it's in the north central Gulf, there's a lot of warm water. The wind shear kind of lets it go. So we have a system in the open air. It's got a conducive environment for intensification. And once you get low-level spin intensifying, it starts to suck in some of that moisture, and all of a sudden you get an environment in which it kind of makes its own environment better. So these storms can improve their own environment. So once it enters that north central Gulf area, we're gonna have a much better idea. This is looking like possibly Thursday. So in a couple of days here, it'll already probably be a tropical depression at this point, but we're gonna wanna watch it closely there and then watch where it goes. The latest tropical spin map, again, does have this going in towards southern Louisiana and then pushing off to the east. But again, this trend is still too close to call it clear for us here in southeast Texas. I want to show you the latest Invest model runs. These are coming in. This is not a tropical depression yet. The latest major forecast run models, again, keep this to the east, but some of the latest trends, as I'm just now looking at now, these came in the past half an hour, some of the models are still trying to push this back to the west. So what's the message to take away from this? Again, these are going to wobble east and west of us until it finally fine-tunes. It's like a pendulum that slows down and finally reaches equilibrium. It's the same thing. You get really far outliers both sides, and then finally it narrows down to one path. So right now, again, anywhere from just along the North Texas Gulf Coast over towards Louisiana, even still Mississippi and Alabama are going to want to watch this closely for possible impacts. So again, there's still a lot to come here, still a lot to be determined, but that's the latest right now. Let me break this down to you in what we know here. Formation odds are 70% now, and that is through 48 hours. Formation odds are 80% still through 5 days. So a high chance of development now that we'll see a tropical depression at least by Thursday, if not sooner. I think it's possible we could see this by tomorrow. That we get a tropical depression or tropical storm Barry on this. And then on top of that, uncertainty still remains very high, as you can see, until development actually occurs, and even at that point. But once we finally get a center of circulation, really the uncertainty really goes down, and you start to able to really track these things and see where they're going. There is high pressure up over that is going to come into play over parts of the southern plains and Texas. So it's all going to depend on the track and the timing. So we really, once this forms, we'll have a better idea. All right, hurricane hunters, again, as I said, are scheduled to go out into this tomorrow, an Air Force Reserve reconnaissance mission. And the latest models, again, as I have to tell you, are showing heavier rainfall now for the time being to the east of Texas. So that is some short-term good news. Again, I want to show you, let's go back to the tropical map now and show you where this is. Again, 70% chance of formation through 48 hours, 80% chance through 5 days. I want to kind of get to some of y'all's comments here. Again, the tropical update has just been posted by our web team on there, so you can click on that. That is the latest update on here. Let's see, I want to get to some of y'all's questions. Again, the latest trend, yes, is to the east. So the latest rainfall amounts are, this is a positive note, could be shifting to the east of us. You're welcome, guys, you're welcome. How often do they update the tracks? Every 6 hours. It comes out a little early, typically. So Central Time, it's going to be 12:30 and then 6:30 p.m. And then in the morning, usually about 6:30 to 7 a.m. It just depends, but usually they're a little early. So again, the next update will come at about 6:30 to 7 p.m. tonight. Chief Forecaster David Tillman will have things pretty well pinned down for you, at least for this evening after that next update comes out. A lot of you are saying, yes, it looks like this may miss us to the east and we'd be on the clean side. That's also correct. So the latest trend is good for a couple of reasons. Number one, not only could this miss us to the east, but if we are indeed on the left side of this, and it really does miss us truly to the east, the only things we're going to be worried about at that point, maybe some small residual showers or thunderstorms, maybe if there is a little bit of a storm surge, especially the North Texas Gulf Coast, we'll have to watch it. But right now, this trend is good. Let's hope it continues. I don't want to jinx it. Let's see. Yes, the east side is the dirty side. Thomas, you're exactly right. Remember, the east and the southeast side, sometimes just on the southeast, you can get really that heavier activity and tornadic activity as well. But again, right now, this trend is looking really good for us in southeast Texas. If you're in Louisiana or have friends or family there or planning on traveling the next few days, you're going to want to stay very close attention to this very closely. Will it be a rain out, a washout? No, as I said, I think this is trending towards the east. How much time do we have? About 5 minutes? So I have a cut-in coming up in about 5 minutes here live on Eyewitness News that I'll have to break this stream for. But again, hopefully this is giving you a broad update. Again, I want to just show you the latest information. Again, this is good news. All right, this is good news. We want to share the good news as soon as we get it. The latest rainfall amounts right now continue to trend further and further to the east. Let's hope it continues. But again, these things wobble until you get a defined track. So it's still possible we'll see impacts here in southeast Texas. But right now, I'm hopeful that this is going to push off to the east. And that's what it's kind of looking like as of the latest couple of runs. Again, I want to go back to the European model. Again, we're waiting on the evening run to come through, but this does have a well-defined tropical cyclone, whether it's a very, very weak Category 1 hurricane or a tropical storm Barry or a tropical depression. It's going to be pretty similar in terms of impacts between those areas of category. I do think this could move in towards perhaps New Orleans, given the latest look, but that's just one model run. The latest trend is pushing it to the east. Let's hope that trend holds. That would help us out quite a bit. 4 minutes, thank you. So let me try to get some of your questions again. You're welcome, guys. Will it turn into a hurricane? Again, I think the chances are less than 10% it turns into a hurricane. That was a good question. Let's see, Jonathan and Amy asking, will it turn into a hurricane? Again, very low chance of that. I think most likely this ends up as a depression or tropical storm. But if it starts sitting in the north central Gulf, we've seen stranger things happen. But again, right now, things are looking better and better if you live in southeast Texas. I think this could push off to the east. More updates will be coming. Again, you can go over to my page there. I've shared that. Also, follow that link there to see the latest forecast video update. Thanks for tuning in. Again, the latest trend is pushing this to the east. We're not in the clear yet, but some short-term good news. Let's hope this trend continues. And again, we'll keep you updated with the latest updates as they come out.